So as Judy said, my name is Craig Sears. My company is Sears Pool Management. We are currently in our 20th year of business. We're headquartered in Sandy Springs, and we service the greater Atlanta area with a number of clients in the Johns Creek area. And we'd like to thank the Johns Creek Community Association for allowing me to come speak to you tonight, and hope that this is not supposed to be an advertisement for Sears Pool. This is really more informational, but just to give you my background. I'm very active in the industry. I'm an American Red Cross lifeguard instructor trainer. I have certifications through there's a lot of alphabet soup in the pool industry of National Swimming Pool Foundation, Association of Pool and Spa Professionals, a member of the National Drowning Prevention Alliance, and have my own local chapter of that here, which I'll talk a little bit about later when we get into water safety. But that's something which is something I'm very passionate about as well. But basically what I was asked to put together for you guys as the Johns Creek Community Association was just kind of some pointers and quick things to kind of keep in mind as we head into pool season, to prepare you for pool season, and even a couple things after pool season as well. So I provided this handout. There should be some extras in the back if you didn't receive one. There's also my business cards back there and some of these posters, which I'll talk about later if you'd like to pick one up. So the first topic I had on here is your spring pool opening checklist. Some of these things are pretty obvious, but if you're new on the board, or if you've got a new person on the board assigned to the pool, it may not be obvious to them. So we'd like to make sure everybody's aware of this. But you always want to make sure that your utilities are on at least 1 month prior to opening. Your phone is the most important one of all as far as getting inspected and passing inspection. AT&T, whether you have them or not, as a service provider, still owns the lines. So they control how quickly that hookup goes, and sometimes they can really drag their feet on getting your phone turned on. So you want to plan at least a month before your pool's supposed to open, getting that phone on. It's also important to know that here in Fulton County and through most counties in the metro area, your phone is required to be hardwired. So you can't use a cellular phone. There are some products out there on the market that use a cellular connection, and if the inspector discovers that that's what you're using, then they will not approve you to open. The reason is that the caller ID must show the pool name and address when you're calling from there to 911 dispatch. So that's the key factor there. And if you're using a cellular service, that may not show up. Over time, maybe it can triangulate, but the code is the code, and it's got to be hardwired. So de-winterizing plumbing, that's pretty obvious, but this applies to folks that have separate bathhouses. If you've got a bathhouse included in your clubhouse, then you're probably not going to need to de-winterize that. Number 3 is one that people forget every year. Please coordinate with whoever your pool service provider is any projects that you're planning to do for spring opening. Particularly pressure washing tends to be one that causes problems every year. Where people schedule pressure washers to come out days before the pool is supposed to open, and your pool company has spent their time and effort getting everything just right, and then the pressure washer comes and inevitably a bunch of junk gets blown in the pool and makes the pool look awful. And then you or the board members come down and say, what in the world? I was just here a few days ago and everything was fine. So please make sure you coordinate that. Some projects can affect your opening, such as if you're doing any bathroom renovations. It may not be obvious, but actually that is an area that the health department does inspect. And so if you are planning to do any retiling or moving dividers in there or anything like that, make sure that you coordinate that with your pool company, and that doesn't cause an issue for inspection. Coordinate the pool permitting process. So here in Fulton County has really struggled the last 2 years to get the permitting process done in an orderly fashion. This year it looks like they have made some big improvements. They've gotten the paperwork out in a timely manner. It was all sent out last month. So either you or your pool company should have received that at the tail end of March or very beginning of April. If you have not, or you're not sure, please check with your pool company and make sure that one of you guys, or your property manager, if you have a property management company, may have gone there as well. Check to make sure that somebody got that paperwork and they're filling it out and submitting it to the county. Because the inspector is not supposed to, they're technically not allowed to come out and conduct an inspection until the paperwork and the fee has been submitted. The fees are very expensive, $512 per body of water. So if you've got a baby pool and a main pool, the baby pool costs just as much to permit as the main pool. They don't care about the size. So you want to make sure that sometimes there have been issues where they'll send and this is Fulton County, they'll send the permit for the main pool to the pool company, the permit for the baby pool to the property manager. And you've got to figure out, where they are and that both of them get into the county. Common issues that you run into in the spring are equipment failures, pump motors being the number one thing. Pump motors are basically the heart of your system, and they're just little mechanical metal motors, and they break down from corrosion basically. And these are things that have been sitting in your pump room all winter long. Every time we get, which is typically not an air-conditioned or HVAC-controlled space, so they're going to go through every freeze-thaw cycle that the outside provides them. So there's going to be condensation building up on those mechanical parts in there, and typically that kind of all happens, comes to its end result in the spring when you've got corrosion and then the bearings lock up and it freezes up and it's got to be replaced. So just be prepared for that. If you start hearing loud screeching noises coming from your pump room, that is probably your bearings going bad. You might want to go ahead and call your pool company and say, I need you guys out here to check this out. Okay. VGB stands for, this is number 6, VGB compliance status. So for those of you who've been doing this for a while, you may remember back in 2008, 2009, everyone had to become compliant with the new suction entrapment hazard law called the Virginia Graham-Baker Pool and Spa Safety Act. It's a federal law that passed. It affects all public and semi-public pools. Association pools fall into the semi-public category. And so all of them had to be outfitted with new safe drain covers to prevent suction entrapment of 5 different kinds, which I'm not going to go into all the details, but basically it prevents horrific accidents from happening in your pool. And what pretty much everybody here, I'm sure, has gotten up to speed in 2009. The catch is, though, that these grates expire, and they have either a 5, 7, or 10-year life on them, depending upon what the manufacturer created. And it used to be that you just waited with the old style grates before this law passed. You just waited until your grate broke, and you called your pool company and said, hey, I need you to install a new one. Now you're supposed to track the expiration on these and replace them whether they have broken or not based upon their expiration. So here's where it gets tricky. There is no place anywhere that is a collection of all this information. So it's ultimately up to you, the Homeowners Association Board, to track when the last time these grates were replaced. Every time you resurface your pool with replaster, most contractors will replace those fittings for you and include that with resurfacing. So the clock starts over at that point. But it's good to know what brand and style you have. So if you don't know, I would ask your pool company, ask the last time that has been replaced, and put that in your records somewhere so that you know when the cycle comes up, those need to be replaced. Just replacing the grates is not that expensive. It's not a huge ticket item, but it is something that the association is tasked with tracking, because you can switch property management companies, you can switch pool management companies, and they're not going to know. Your new companies are going to have no idea when the last time that information or that was changed, and there's no place, there's no database, national database for this to be entered. And even the health department is not going to know. You can't necessarily tell by looking at the grate whether it's expired or not. But if, God forbid, an accident were to happen in your pool involving one of the grates, you can bet that somebody's going to pull it and look at the expiration date on it, and the plaintiff's attorney is going to have that fact ready to go if it becomes an important fact.
So you're saying there is an expiration date on the grate itself?
There is there's a manufacture date on it. It doesn't necessarily mean that's when it was installed.
Not the install date,
So that's why you need to know, you really need to find out from your pool company when it was installed, mark that down in your records.
Okay. So they don't go by specifically the manufacturer date?
Right. It's most things usually are installed within a year of manufacture, but it depends. It could have been sitting on a supplier's shelf, for months or potentially years. So that's why I have that in there. So check your deck equipment and furniture. This is, actually, hopefully you've already done this. If you haven't, definitely go evaluate your furniture and your deck equipment, your backboards. If you're a lifeguard facility, your rescue tubes, any of that type of stuff, rescue equipment, your ring buoys, all that stuff should be evaluated pre-season. Now your pool company's probably going to do that for you, but it depends, on how thorough they are, and or if you're trying to do it yourself, and that falls to you. And then the last point in this section is just renovate in the fall whenever possible. The springtime is the busiest time, and everybody's trying to get projects done in the spring. Everybody always waits to the last minute. So it's just advisable that if you know you've got a big project coming up, always try to schedule it for the fall.
Hey, Craig, really wanted you to emphasize how important it is for those covers.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure everybody is fully aware of what can happen to a small child if those things aren't there installed properly.
Right, terrible things can happen. The law was passed, is named after Virginia Graham Baker, who was the granddaughter of former Secretary of State James Baker, if the name sounds familiar. So his granddaughter died in a suction entrapment incident in his daughter's home. Was Virginia's older siblings' graduation party, I think, from middle school. Virginia was 7 years old, or 6 or 7 years old. And this was, I want to say it was 2005 when the incident happened. And basically she was playing in the spa. There was a party going on at the house. And the grate had, it was a single drain facility, which basically means that there's direct suction from that drain to the pump. Now, in Fulton County and in most public pools, and now according to the Virginia Graham Baker Pool and Spa Safety Act, you have to have a dual drain system, and there's a lot of specifications that you have to pass there. But the dual drain system is plumbed in a way such as the suction pipe comes up, divides out, so that there's equal suction provided to both grates. So that way, if one grate was completely covered, the suction would be easily diverted to the other grate, and it wouldn't be strong enough to entrap or hold somebody to that grate. So what happened to Virginia was that she was playing near the grate, and she got stuck on the grate because it's a nice flat surface, and her, I think it was her rear end got stuck on the, and part of her torso got stuck on there, and they were unable, several grown men were unable to pull her off the grate. So she literally died right there while they were trying to remove her. The suction can be that strong. So this is a horrific accident that happened, and then a few years later, I think it was 2007, Abigail Taylor, which is, if you look at this poster, there's Abby's Hope, that's named after her, died in another horrific accident. I wish it was the effects of the accident. She had died in an evisceration incident up at the Minneapolis Country Club, where she was playing in a baby pool, and this again was a single drain facility, and in this case it was just the absolute worst case, where the grate had busted and the maintenance person had just thrown it away and not replaced it. So it was literally an open suction hole, and she sat down on it and she was eviscerated. She went to the hospital, and it was only at the hospital they determined what had happened, and she'd lost pretty much almost all of her intestines. And she went through a series of surgeries for the next 6 months or so in order to try to survive, and unfortunately she was unable to do that. It's very difficult to live without your intestines, because that's where all of your nutrients are absorbed into the body. But anyway, as a result of that, as a result of the first incident, a bill was drafted, and it was, as many bills do, kind of sit and get lost in committee for a couple of years. And then after the incident with Abigail Taylor, it was so awful that it really, the benefit of it is that it really got the legislature moving, and they found the bill, picked it up, finalized it, rushed it to approval, and it was signed. And the law has great intent. It was a difficult year when we had to implement it, because they gave, it was passed in 2007, and they gave manufacturers until December 2008 to come out with the new grates and get them installed, and there were not enough grates available to get out, so it was quite a fiasco back then. But now the only thing you guys really need to worry about is your grates were probably compliant in 2009, but now it's okay. Have they expired? Do I need to? When were they last replaced? So that's what that law is about. So the next section is just some things to think about, preseason and during the season. Throughout the season, it's a good idea to conduct periodic safety audits. Basically, look for areas like gates and fences. These are places that are often vandalized and break over time or with heavy usage. Your gate needs to be self-closing and self-latching. If it's not self-closing or self-latching, you can get shut down by the health department. Your phone, obviously we talked about that already. Tile surfaces, typical areas for failure. Diving boards, are they properly positioned? Are they too slippery? Are they cracked? You may have an aluminum board, or you may have a fiberglass board with a wood interior. Those tend to crack as they get older. Slides, check out your slides. Are they operating correctly? Do they need any maintenance? Railings, lifeguard stands, drain covers, of course, we just talked about. Your signage. Pool rules need to be posted. SAOR, does anybody know what that stands for? Swim at own risk. It's industry lingo, but basically you need to have signs up. Even if you have lifeguard service with your provider, you need to have a sign up that says, no lifeguard on duty, swim at your own risk. Because the lifeguard may or may not be there during all open hours. Even if they are during open hours, they're going to take breaks. When they're on break, they're technically not on duty, actively supervising or surveying the pool. So having that signage up protects you, because you have a legal duty to inform anybody that comes on the property that they are responsible for supervising children and for themselves, and that sign helps provide that legal, or helps cover your legal duty to inform. The 911 sign must be posted near the phone so that it's easier for folks to find the 911 phone when an accident happens. Now, most people have these and they're just going to pick this up and call from that, but that's not going to help them find your location very quickly. So you want to encourage people to use the pool phone if there is an emergency. If you do have swim at your own risk time at the pool, we recommend that you have all the residents sign waivers. What a lot of communities do is, before they will hand out the pool code for the year or the pool key for the year, or if you've got a key fob system, that's even better. Before you activate people's key fobs, you can have them sign a waiver that says they understand this is a swim at your own risk facility. And I'm certainly not an attorney, so I can't draft that for you, but you probably have an HOA attorney that you keep on retainer. They have these types of things available to you that they should be able to provide to help you send that out to your residents. This is the perfect time in your neighborhood newsletters to remind residents of proper pool behavior, because as the warmer it gets, everybody's excited to get in the pool, and some people get a little too excited and go a little too crazy and forget about acting safely and proper usage of the pool. So parental supervision is huge. That's what this poster is about here, just to remind parents that whether you have a lifeguard or not, you cannot abdicate your parental responsibility to someone else for watching your children. So this kind of helps remind them. There's a little QR code here on there if they want to scan. They can get one of these water watcher tags here, which is kind of a neat thing. This is great for groups. If you've got groups of people going to the pool, and specifically for parties and stuff, it's easy for people to get distracted, especially if alcohol is involved, and forget who's watching the kids in the pool. So with the water watcher tag system, basically what that does is whoever's wearing that is reminded that they are responsible for watching the pool at that time. So then they can trade off a shift with another adult. So it's a good system to have, particularly if you're having a party or something like that. So that's parental supervision. Propping the gate open is definitely frowned on from a safety standpoint. It's not as big of a problem at associations as it is in apartment complexes and multi-user units. But if you're an apartment association or a condo, kids are typically closer to the pool area. The whole community is closer in. And parents are not assuming, but even in an association, parents are not assuming that their kids have easy access to the pool. So if they come down and they're coming down to watch or play tennis, and their kids are on the playground, they're assuming that their kids are on the playground. But their kids may in fact be wandering into the pool area, falling in and drowning if that gate is propped open. So it seems a simple thing to do, an innocent thing to do, but it really can cause a disaster. Diving area is, if you have diving in your pool, first of all, your pool has to be deeper than 5 feet to have diving area. If you have a diving area, it should be properly marked that it is a diving area. Glass should never be allowed in the pool area. That includes wine and beer bottles. Even if you got it in a koozie, it's still glass, shouldn't be in the pool area. We have some clients where this is a problem. We'll just go ahead and buy a big package of Solo cups and put them at the pool and tell people when they arrive, if you brought beer in bottles, keep your cooler at the gate, go outside, pour your beer in the cup, and then you can come in. So we're coming up with a cup dispenser thing that you can mount in the restrooms or something. There's various different options there to try to encourage people not to have glass at the pool area. They make these great plasticware glasses that look like glass that are pretty cool too. So you can still have a glass of wine and something that looks like an actual glass, but it's actually made out of plastic. If you just like the feel of having a wine glass in there.
Or just get a Yeti cup.
Or just get a Yeti cup. Yeah.
Exactly.
Non-potty trained children. This is kind of a topic every year. It's important that you remind your residents that non-potty trained individuals and really I should probably change the wording on that, because you really should, legally, any policies that you make pertaining to this should not specify or call out children. They should say all incontinent people. So you never know, you may have an adult who can't control their bodily functions. And those individuals also need to be wearing proper attire before they get in the pool. So they should have a swim diaper. For kids, typically a swim diaper and rubber pants is what's recommended. It's also a great time to remind people that, hey, if you have diarrhea, if your kids have diarrhea, please don't bring them to the pool. I mean, this should be a common sense thing, but every year it's somebody does it anyway. It just doesn't occur to them. Or if if you have a nanny, remind the parents through the newsletter that if you have a nanny that if the kids have diarrhea, find another activity for that day. Don't bring them to the pool. Playground's fun, but not the pool. Breath holding. Breath holding, and I talked about this last year, but this is something that's garnered some recent media attention. I'll say recent, within the last few years or so. There's been an increase in deaths related to breath holding incidents. And what this is due to is a phenomenon called shallow water blackout, or hypoxic blackout is another word for it. And basically what it